anybody tell you that you were born a leader? The great man's theory has been disproved many times. Right? Nobody is born, and it's an interesting story. If you look at the life of Jesus, right? It's an interesting thing that he came as a child, and it's an interesting thing that he learned from parents. It's an interesting thing that at the age of 12, he interacted with scholars. It's an interesting thing that all through life he followed a journey. Right? Till his official assignment. So Jesus didn't just follow for him and took up leadership position. He lived a life on earth. He had experiences. He had debates. He had challenges. He met them. Right? And he overcame them. So we have to understand that Jesus himself showed us that experiences are important for our own leadership experiences. Because he had to have that wilderness experience. He had to have the crucifixion experience. He had to have all of those things that he didn't necessarily need to have. But it's a fine example that we need to understand that we don't just become leaders overnight. That the experiences that we have are going to directly make us the leaders we want to be. So the kinds of activities we find ourselves in is important. But let me go quickly to what I also want to share. This whole idea of the characteristics of leadership. Because I think this is also pretty interesting to look on this idea of the characteristics of leadership. Give me a minute. Right. So here are the characteristics of leadership. Vision. A leader must have vision. And this is the greatest quality of any leader, vision. So the ability to see big picture. The ability to know where somebody is headed and where you want to take them. So the quick question is, would you be born with a vision? Is that vision something you would develop over time? Yeah? Okay. So, vision, your ability to see where you want to take someone, is directly based on your experiences you've had in your own life, right? Based on the knowledge you have built up. Inspiration. Equally as important as having a vision, your ability to motivate, your ability to engage and to connect with people. Again, the environmental aspect of life. So, for you to be a good leader, you have to be social and socialized. Right? You must be able to talk to people. You must be able to relate to people. You must be able to convince and convey what you do to people. Next, strategic thinking. Strategic and critical thinking. As a leader, you have to be a thinker. And if you can't think, then just get other people who can think. It really doesn't matter. You can't, I can't climb the steps, it's not a problem. I'll just get somebody who can climb it. Right? Strategic thinking don't mean you have to do it. It means that you can get others to do it. Right? So strategic thinking is important. You can't born with strategic thinking. Strategic thinking, again, is some of those qualities you develop over time, over lifetime. You can be born with the capacity to be a strategic thinker, but you don't born with the skill. Next, interpersonal communication. Your ability to communicate with people, what you want them to do and how they're supposed to do it. Authenticity and self-awareness. That's the second to last one. Authenticity means realness. Your own authentic, real self, with all the flaws you have. Can I see the hands of people in here with flaws? okay? Can I see the hands of people who don't have flaws? Can I see the hands of people who don't know if you have flaws? Well, it's important to have flaws. And it's important to know them as well. Right? It's important. You know what? You know what makes me good at my job? Because I know my fault. Right? I am not detail oriented. I'm a thinker. But don't ask me to do detail work. Like, don't ask me to get to do a data entry, because I'll never do it. I'll do everything else and it's never done. Don't ask me to do detail work, because I'm going to fail at it. So you know what I have with the people who work for me? Everybody in my office, detail people. They know what I think, you know. Because you ask me, say, can I have this? I don't want to, but I don't think you just tell me what you want done, no? Because you see, you know what? You see, if you have two thinkers in that room, nothing get done. We still gonna dream whole day with big plans, and nobody take the time to execute them. Oh, I said, I'm going to build a church. No, don't just build a church. Build two churches. And then I said, oh yes, two churches. And then don't just build 3-story church. And what you want to go to put inside the church? You're going to put a swimming pool. And you're going to put and I'm going to get excited about how the church will look. When I even start building the church. So somebody said, calm down. What type of land you have? What is the budget for the church? How are you going to get fun? And all of a sudden the public staff go down, you realize it. So in other words, you have a dreamer, but you also have somebody who says, realistically, this is what we can do and I can get it done for you. It's important. So sometimes the people you work with are important to getting the vision done. Leadership is understanding people and how to work efficiently with people. Right? You need to know the dreamers. The dreamers are important in getting the organization working, in making the organization great again, in making the organization full of vibe and all of them things. But you also need the detailed person who keeps the administrative line working, keep the light bill paid, keep the water bill paid. And the dreamers that don't pay no bill enough, all they want to do is dream. Right? They don't pay bills. Right? So you have to get all those workers in place. You have the person who is willing to come early and do all the work. So that the preacher man can come up and preach and church catch a fire. We honor the person who comes early and get the job done, because that is an understanding of the detail that is needed to make things happen. So we don't give credit to detailed people. We pick up my people and more detailed preachers, because it had not been for them. So many times preachers get crazy and we don't even take the time out to them to recognize what makes preachers great again. And we'll always make them great. Yes, I know it's God who gives them the talent. Yes, I know that they get inspiration from God. But people also help. Right? And if you're a good leader, you honor the people. You stop by them, and when they don't expect you, tell them thanks. And let me tell you something I've learned in life. The most loyal people in any organization are sometimes the lowest paid. I realized something working in management. You see the one who work, your fellow managers, and the other one, they be careful of them, they will stab you in the back. They will move in no time. You know the people who are with you, the office staff. And then say, sir, you know why I like you? Because every morning you tell me good morning. Then the rest of the time you look for me. No, them now drive SUV and they live uptown. But you know what I tell them? They are loyal because you show them respect. They are loyal because you took the time to regard them. You care about their family. They don't want the money from you. You come, how's your daughter doing now? Just that, you know, how's your daughter doing now? And it makes a difference. Them come over happy every morning. Right? So you have to understand that if it is that you're in the process of making leaders, you need to understand the qualities that leaders have. And you need to work on those, because it's not a gift that you're born with. It's a skill that you need to train. train yourself, train the people who work around you, because you have to understand that when you have people working with you, it's not just about you, it's about them. You know what I take pride in as a leader? When somebody says, sir, I've learned so much working with you. Not resentment, not hate, but sir, I've learned so much working with you. That is what you need to remember in the mindset of your of working. Make the experience with people memorable. Make the experience impactful. Make the experience godly. Because another part that we need to talk about, it has nothing to do with this topic. But Jesus' type of leadership is transformational. It's servant leadership. Right? Jesus is a transformational leader. But the truth is, we whisper and talk. If you look at church leadership, sometimes it's not servant based. If you look at church leadership sometimes, I'm not talking our organization necessarily. General. It's not based, because servant leadership is based on the leader serving the people, as opposed to the people serving the leader. So the leader wants jet, the leader wants mansion, the leader wants this, the leader wants that. That's not servant leadership. That's hero worship. And some other type of worship. If you look at the life of God as servant and leader, come. But that's it. Thanks so much for your time. I hope I've deposited some thought. As Pastor said, other people will come and talk. I've set the foundation. We move on. Thanks for your time.
Okay. So let's give Element a big round of applause. Amen. And we are recording, I think we're streaming live. Alright, our technical person will tell me if our service streaming live, but we are definitely capturing the information. Now, as I said, this is a first in a series of leadership sessions that we'll be having in our national youth department, because we're going to be very intentional in depositing the knowledge to make for greater efficiency and effectiveness in leadership. And so this is the foundational session. And so what we're putting at this time, and the opening for Q&A, we want to have you asking questions or you making comments. So I'm going to be allocating 10 minutes for Q&A. Back to our presenter, and once you want to ask your question or you make your comment, and he will respond. I will be very respectful in so doing. God bless you.
Praise the Lord. So, says our leaders born or made. And in your elaboration, you mentioned on whether or not they're born is due to royalty. I just want to find out if that's the only case that you think a leader is born. Okay, so that's the first part of the question. The next part of the question would be, what if there are a scenario where you have 30 people in this community, that's not all of them, basically the same kind of training, same kind of environment, notwithstanding some of them are not good leaders, but others came out to be transformational leaders. Would you suggest then that there is probably something that that person was born with that will redispose them to being a better leader, a transformational leader, and a person that was not a leader, even though they were pretty much in the same environment. So that's the second part of this.
Okay, I'll ask some clarity as I get to the second one. The first one, can I think of any other instance other than through royalty in a temporal example, right? Because Jesus, as royalty, but that's a separate instance, right? He was announced as unto us, is this kind of, is born this member of royalty, but he was never groomed in a royal family. He was actually born in a lowly stable, grown up by carpenters, etc., etc. So he defied that kind of logic. But I just wanted to point out that Jesus contradicts the statement because he himself was a born leader, but he then went into a different kind of experience that made him into a leader as well. Right? So, yes, apart from royalty or dynasties, I can't figure any other kind of temperament. Right? All other leadership would have been by virtue of socialization or by virtue of environment. So, yes. It will be dynasty. Right. So apart from dynasty and or royalty, yes.
I think it's maybe it's just further in the discussion though, but when you think about, when you say that a person is born a leader, I think we understand that as a child, you're not going to lead anybody or anything, whether you're royalty or dynasty or anything. You understand? So you're going to have to grow. So I think we probably should appreciate that you would necessarily grow, you would also necessarily have experiences. But isn't there something, because you can have all these similar experiences, but then some turn out to be really great leaders while others are not?
Yes.
So do we accept or do we think that there are certain predisposition traits that is, if you want to say genes or traits, inherited someone, or that makes you predisposed to being a leader? For example, in my family, we're almost all teachers. And we're almost always good at math and sciences.
Yes.
And it's something that we can run through the family right now. And in that line, I ask you now, don't we accept or do we think that there can be such a case where somebody is born with that kind of trait that predisposes them to be an exceptional leader? Okay,
I can completely disprove that here. I am not minded to support it because of the idea that the environment plays a huge part. So you may have the capacity to lead, but if you don't get the right training, you still can't lead effectively. Right? So one without the other is large. In fact, I can be born without capacity, and I can develop capacity to lead by virtue of the experiences I have. So the least of them all is whether or not I'm born with capacity to lead. Because if I don't get the type of mentorship or get the kind of experiences that I need, I will not be an effective leader. Oh, and then Minister says,
Alright, so before we take the questions, I'm going to take only 3 more. So, Minister
Sorry.
Minister Sloss.
Before you come, and the second question about people who maybe in a similar environment, some come out good. Right. So my thing is, I don't believe that anybody have a disposition to be bad. And I believe people's interpretation of things are different. Also, their experiences may also differ. I may be teaching you the same value system, but you know what? I exist in an abusive home. I exist with a violent uncle, a violent father. Somebody may be abused or raped. That is not a part of the teaching, but it definitely is a part of the experience that will affect how I live, will affect my perception of life. So sometimes homogeneity in terms of how we learn stuff is not the only thing that affects how people interpret and understand life. So in other words, and the church need to know this, because sometimes people in church suffer from abuse.